Like with Jat and Kobe, you had more casters with you. Don't even bring that into
Whatever. We're going to bring ourselves a great series. As Dash said earlier in the show, this is the final team to join the North American LCS for the beginning of 2015. The spring split will be expanding to 10 teams. We've got 9 thanks to Curse Academy yesterday. We're going to have number 10 here. Now, of course, the teams that don't win, which is going to include Final 5, and the loser of this series, they're going to go to the Challenger Series.
Yeah, and see if they can, make their way up back to the LCS from there. So we'll end up seeing a lot of pro play today because everybody, all 10 players here today, have had pro play experience, whether it's LCS, OGN, or EU LCS NA.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be fun. And that was kind of what drew people into the team. What the management kind of brought in was people with pro experience, and you're going to have everyone kind of used to the LAN game and everyone putting out their best performances. Now, of course, it was a big double elimination bracket. It was best of 5 the whole way through, and we are here to the 2 teams stuck in the middle. Now, Curse Academy, as I said before, had a great run, went 6-2, joined the LCS. Fusion made it almost there. They dropped down. Coast lost to Curse Academy, took out Final 5, and now they made it up to this final deciding match.
Yeah, there have been no 3-0s in this tournament, despite, Final 5 came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They were a team that really, kind of like the yardstick, too. It's like they will take the first couple of games off of you and throw you into a panic. They took the first 2 games off of Fusion, took the first game off of Coast,
right,
and then threw everybody oh god, we have to change our picks and bans. So they do test your team and expose some weaknesses that other teams that watch the VODs get to exploit.
And that's cool, though. So I'm going to be excited just to see that team overall in Challenger next year. But also, yeah, every team did get tested. And it's interesting to see everyone tested in best of 5s. Of course, that format's going to change as they get into the LCS and they're going to play best of 1s. They've got to be able to adapt. Talking to Fusion about their games, it was like, guys, you lost more games than I feel like you were expecting. They're like, yeah, we lost 6 more games. And apparently they can't count because they only lost 5.
Yeah.
But they lost more games than they even lost. But they said, yeah, we lost more than we were expecting. We know we're a slow starting team, but we think we're going to improve. Like, guys, LCS is best of 1s, right? And they were surprised by that. They're taken off guard by the fact that I said LCS is best of 1. I don't know why that surprised them, but they've got to, of course, get this started here.
Yeah, they are 4-5 currently. They've lost more than they've won in the expansion tournament against teams that, they've had hype and favor over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this is a matchup where both teams, and I think a lot of fans are torn today because they're like, I really like these people, I really like these other guys too, and it's kind of this mix and match. So it's kind of everybody at home is probably going to win despite what team wins, but they're also going to lose too.
Well, you heard what Crepo said at Worlds. It's if one team bans Thresh and picks Janna, they win, or vice versa. But if both teams get it, then the fans win.
Yes.
And so I think this is one of the things where the fans win. I think this was the match that I think most people were expecting to be that winner bracket final match, that people were expecting both these teams to join the LCS, but it's only going to be one for this split. They're going to see which one that is. Of course, there's Fusion's roster on your screen. They are the team that lost more games than they thought they had lost, or vice versa. Macdude in the top lane, great player, won a OGN Champions with the Najin organization. Nintendude, formerly of Team Coast, Huhi also of Big File Miracle, back in OGN as well. Nian played for CLG as well as Marn, and Glebe Glarbu, the most recently known as TSM support.
Yeah, and he was also in the Challenger Series for a while on Cloud9 Tempest.
Right.
And he kind of came out of nowhere very quickly and then got on TSM. And, he gained spotlight very quickly.
Yeah.
He had been around for a long time, under the radar.
He had been an under the radar support player for a while there. He is on your screen right there, and you can see him full screen. And this is a player who has been steadily improving as much as he can.
But here's the thing, is Fusion's bottom lane is something that was exploited by Final 5 over and over again. The games that Fusion ended up winning, they had to ban the top AD carry and support of the enemy team, and then they had to lane swap Niantanso into a different lane. As the shot caller of the team, he needs to go even. He needs to get ahead.
Yeah, we were seeing a couple of kind of strange trades by them back in their first series of Friday up against Final 5. And this is kind of one of the interesting things about players that come up from Challenger and play in the pro scene for a little while. And I actually want to talk about his lane mate, Nian. Because when he was on Marn, I had nothing but praise to say about this guy. He was carrying the team. He brought them to at least a not 8th place finish, but he was the all-star of that Marn squad. And then you saw him in kind of playing for CLG the top lane. You see him outside the Challenger Series or in a series like this, and it then gets a lot more difficult for him, and maybe his stock plummets a little bit. Up against him is going to be Team Coast, and in their own words, they say that their bot lane is better than Nian and
in their own words.
Yeah, Coast say that they're going to win this bot lane. This is match specifically saying, yeah, we're better than 2v2. They're really only worried about Macnu.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is does that mean they're just going to go try to 2v2 every time and you can lane swap on them and they won't expect it? Or can you make them mind game themselves? It's all about this confidence coming into there. But yeah, they have Chris, formerly of Velocity, They have Impaler, formerly of Super Hot Crew, who had amazing Lee Sin games.
Oh man, yesterday he was ridiculous.
He was a player that didn't get to play Lee Sin a whole lot. Like, he was a really good Lee Sin player. Season 3, probably the most mechanically sound in Europe.
Just as well.
But then he joined Super Hot Crew, and they already had carries. They had like Mimer, Selfie. They had all these guys that would carry the game for them, and he had to take kind of a back seat and play more supportive type junglers. But now that he's paired up with someone like Jess's, who's very defensive, very likes to go even, very consistent in his play.
Right.
He can make more plays. He can step up and be the shot caller of the team and be the carry.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of sort of very explosive people on this team. Mash there on the back left of your screen, if you're on the top left side, the AD carry. He's also a pretty big sort of, like, I think hothead's the wrong term for it, but he's one of those guys who like really wants to impose his will on the game. He's a very sort of aggressive style player, and I don't have like the right verb for myself in this one, but he's a player who's going to go look for those trades. He's going to look to make the big moves by himself and make some #LCS big plays in order to get himself into it.
Yeah, I don't know. The word might be like headstrong. He likes to be very dominant in that lane and just apply pressure to his lane opponent because he's very confident in his skills.
You're not only better looking, but better at English too. So thank you, Zyrene, for helping out on this
Not
one.
always.
Picks and bans have begun. Well, as long as you comb your hair, you got me beat. Ari banned away from Jess's, Soraka away from Sheep, but who he's not going to get is Zed, and no driver for Nintendo.
And I like this too, the fact that they're banning away the Soraka from Sheep because they need to have a lane that Niantanso can bully around and get ahead on. I really want to see where this bottom lane goes. Like you said, Mash, very confident in his play, and look at that, the first pick for Niantanso. That's just the comfort that they want him on. They want him on that champion for the lane bully and just the dominance.
Right, it's a combination of right, they want Corki, who seems to be like that very first pick AD carry, but also it is, anytime you first pick anything, it is always a denial, right? It is always something that is contested that you expect your team to pick on the other side. Chris, right away, takes Maokai away, doesn't want Macnoon to get that Thresh away from Gleblarbu as well. It's the contested picks that come out first. Yeah,
and also the Lissandra ban too, the fact that he's just going to pick up the Maokai, no problem, means that there isn't going to be a Lissandra against it. They're going to have to fall back on something like Rumble, which he didn't have a good performance on that top lane as Macnoon. So,
that's true.
This champion select is already turning out to be just really back and forth in terms of what they're taking. Because Sheep, he just got his Thresh.
Yeah, and that's big. I think this is definitely Sheep's best champion for sure. I think it's a very good thing for Coast that got this champion. And again, it's a lane-dominant type champion. If Coast expects to win their duo lane, they want an aggressive duo lane so they can beat up on Niantanso and Glebe.
Yeah, and they're hovering the Lee Sin already for Nintendo. It is his most played in solo queue at the moment, and they saw that devastating performance that Impaler had yesterday on that champion, and they don't want to allow them to have both a Thresh and a Lee Sin for playmaking potential.
Well, you know what's funny about this, though, is that with the Morgana lock-in, they do go for Lee Sin after all, but one of the things I always think about is the Warwick Morgana, a thing that exists, and Warwick unbanned and seemingly unpicked in this series.
So this actually accomplishes two things. One, Gleblarbu's taking the Morgana, which is a very good pick against the Thresh, but also discourages Impaler from picking the Warwick.
That's true, yeah, you can Black Shield somebody off, and then, especially if you time it right, like, you ever get those, like, clutch spell shields on a Warwick ult, and you just laugh because nothing happens?
He just stands there.
Dude, my biggest claim to fame was the Jarvan Champion Spotlight. I predicted a Warwick ulti, and EQ'd myself out of a Warwick ult. And I swear to God, I predicted
You're in the Jarvan Spotlight?
Is the best move I've ever made in my life. Pantheon, though, picked up for Impaler. He's going to do a lot of impaling with those spears of him. And Ezreal comes in for Mash.
I just realized that you were my hero all along, because Jarvan's my main, and I look to that Spotlight every day. It's in my shrine.
It's like a picture of all the splash arts throughout time, like time-lapse.
Anyway, yeah, he's going to have that Pantheon. That's the fallback there. And I really like that decision because the Warwick, very discouraged. The fact that Jarvan is banned away and that he's going to have to fall back on that. And it can handle a Lee Sin, and it discourages him from invading because you have CC that allows your mid laner to just come up and join you.
That's true. And honestly, it just becomes such a scary prospect of fighting either of these junglers. You want to make sure that if you're going for anything crazy, you're not going to get stabbed in from the side. And we still have yet to see if Coast are running possibly, by the way, potential double AD comp, since Ezreal could go to Jess's here, but I think it's a very good pick to go for Ezreal. You hide where the composition is, you make Fusion show all their lanes. They are going to go for Kassadin and Rumble here. Very magic damage heavy comp for Fusion.
Yeah, and Macnoon's been very hit or miss with his Rumble. He had a couple games where his Rumble ultimate hit almost nobody. He didn't have very effective ones in the mid game. He had one good one late game, but it was still way too late. And then there was a game where he had about a 1 KDA on it and almost no kills, just all assists.
And we'll see if he can do a little bit better for himself there. He did play one Rumble game, so hopefully he's warmed up with that one. And now Orianna up in the mix. It is going to be Jess in the mid lane with Orianna. Single AD comp. That'll be Mash with the Ezreal here. And the comps are there. I think Oriana's going to do well against Kassadin, but ever since the sort of minor remake 6 months ago or so, I feel like he holds up against AP mids decently in lane.
Yeah, he's just got these stall tactics where he can just shield himself and be okay for a bit. The fact that MASH has been practicing that Ezreal, or at least going back to it, because there's a champion that he played a ton of Season 3 and played a ton of when it was very powerful in Season 2, end of that. So he went back to that. Jez has also picked it up. So it's got that flex pick power and allowed them to get that Oriana. And Jez's Oriana is something that we saw many like 3-man, 4-man shockwaves when he played in the LCS.
I mean, Jez is a phenomenally strong player. He's like top challenger in NA right now, 600 points. Like, this has been a very consistently performing player.
Yeah, and he just shot up the ladder too. Impaler, pretty much the same story, but Jez is handling that North American ladder. 600 points challenger already. He's only been here for a little while. Big thing about this Oriana though, I talk about Jez is you're always thinking he's kind of the standard mid laner, wave clear, play safe. What champion does that the best? It's probably Oriana.
Yep, Oriana and Ziggs are like the two.
He played as Ziggs and didn't have a good game on that.
That's true.
So.
Oh yeah, we'll see which Jez comes out here though. Oriana definitely a big comfort pick for him. It's something I think is going to be pretty strong, and you know, Coast I think will feel confident coming into this series. Guys, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to head over to Twitter, tweet at LOL Esports, and or use the hashtag LCS expansion. Say what you want about the players, say what you want about the tournament. So far, it's been great overall, and it's just fun to get you guys involved in the conversation.
Yeah, say what you want about Freak.
Yeah, I can take it. I got
say what you want about him. I love him.
Aw,
got your back, man. Look.
Love you too. We're good. We're friends. We're here. We are going to cast some League of Legends, guys. The first and only best of 5 of the day. Winner joins the North American LCS for 2015. It's right on your screen here. Fusion on the blue side, Coast on the red. And in the next few hours, we're going to have another professional team in North America.
Yep, and another one in Challenger at the same time. This is something that, like I said, everybody's kind of torn on. But I think everybody's going to enjoy these games. And when the plays are made, it's going to be crazy. Because these guys, these are the two teams that everybody's like, these are ones. They got to go head-to-head at some point. And now it's happening.
And it's always worth figuring out, like, just how strong the teams are when you see them measure up to all the LCS teams. Like, we've had the Cloud9s of the world where they win Challenger. And they're like, by the way, we're the best team in North America, possibly the Western world, and they like top 8 at Worlds. And then you have teams that, you know, squeak by and kind of hold on for a little while, like when Coast re-qualified back in earlier in the year or last year. They had a kind of a hit and miss performance. Unicorns of Love have a lot of hype coming in as one of the new European teams, and we saw them take out TSM.
Oh yeah, and
so
I go on and on about UOL.
Oh man, I mean they're a whole bunch of fun to watch.
Yeah.
No, that's one of I think the really great success stories from the Challenger scene. And now Fusion, a completely out of nowhere new lineup, and Coast, who have, you know, taken all the, not retirees, but kind of the bench squads and said, no, we're going to be good enough to requalify here.
Yeah, and you mentioned UOL. They are really good at innovating, and that's why the fact that it's a new patch, basically a new game for a lot of people, they get to whip out these new picks, and they find success with them. The thing here is Fusion was very confident on 419. Their adaptation to 420 has been underwhelming.
Yes, it has. And you actually saw them in their series against Curse Academy. They said, we did not expect that Karthus jungle. And in fact, I talked to them this morning and they said, yeah, we played Curse Academy the most out of any team leading up to this because we assumed we're the two favorites, we'll be in the finals, no big deal, we'll just be well practiced, and then the two of us will just win the tournament. That's no big deal. And then they're like, wait, where did this Karthus jungle come from?
Sheep finding Nintendo. He knows the route, and now he gets to bully him around a little bit.
You gotta be careful he doesn't get turned into, is it mutton? Is that lamb? Wait, no. Whatever. You know what? I'm going to not go for the lamb choke. Lamb chop's not going to happen here. Nintendo gets his blue buff safely. Macnoon helping him. The double jungle's going well. I don't know why I went for a bad joke. But we're back here with the lane swaps. And honestly, the dual lanes, the support's just now roaming out actually for Glebe Larber.
Yeah, here's the thing is that this matchup is actually very bad for Coast in terms of the champions that they had picked for themselves. Like, Ezreal into Corki is like, okay. But then Thresh and Morgana. And that's something that when we saw Curse Academy playing against Coast, Bunny Fufu was totally okay with doing that matchup and just playing around the timing of the Black Shield and the bindings of Glebe. And Glebe really needed to step up, and that was something I want to keep an eye on in this series, is how Glebe handles himself, as well as Nian Tanso, because he needs to protect him, because Nian's pretty much the hard carry. Look at that.
Sure. Well, Glebe already jumped on, though, goes for the early aggression, but in comes the rest of the team. Looks like Coast actually outnumbered here. They went for, here's the thing, is the very first start of this game started out with Fusion taking a greedy buff and succeeding with it, which means Impaler had to go for this risky side of the map, and it's going to be a 3-buff start here for Fusion.
And the fact that they were on their strong side of the map because the support and AD carrier on that bot side worked out. Glebe goes really far forward, and then just takes the binding level 1. Perfect play there. And now they're going to try to juggle the dragon because they have this strong side of the map in the lane swap.
Wow, so they're going to get a 3-buff start, that extra red buff at the very bottom side that's going to get grabbed kind of whenever is convenient for these guys. And meanwhile, this will be a fairly clean dragon take. Meanwhile, Corki and Kassadin more or less free farming, so they're missing what would be some jungle XP, but they sent Impaler back, so there's actually no advantage gained at all by Coast for this time spent.
Oh, Gleep's taking a lot of damage here. He can't be the one who juggles back and forth. They end up getting it. Sheep is trying to keep them in the pit as Impaler gets there.
Oh, the flash on Indy. Oh, nicely done. Sheep does get a solo kill. Hooks in Nintendo. Battle begins. Looks like a 3-on-2 Sheep. Forced to one array right here. MacNoon, though, very low. Coast gets 2 kills. The dragon took too long. What a great engage.
And they didn't juggle it perfectly either, so Gleep took a bunch of shots and ended up with enough HP to get executed. And now the red buff on Huhi. He's going to have to flash here.
All right, that is his flash loss. So, wow, actually, what a great comeback move here by Coast. Actually, Jess's accidental summoner spell burn. I think he meant to type flash, and then he hit F and hit heal without hitting enter first. He's timing his opponent's mid laner's flash. That's my guess on why that happened.
That is why you put flash on.
That would make it worse, actually. That actually made him a little bit, because it's a shorter cooldown.
Yep.
So, hey. Or just make sure you hit enter properly.
Boom. No.
That's a silly response.
That's why you just put flash on D. It's okay.
That's horrible. You're a bad kind of person.
When you type somebody else's flash, boom. No problem.
Yeah. Well, 100% so far, anyone who puts flash on D misuses their summoner spells, so...
Yeah. If you put your smite on F, you can't smite nothing. So you're just standing there and you're like, oh, oops, my bad.
Don't even go for this. You know, I don't need your heathenness flash on D crap.
There's like the church of flash on F.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm right about this one. But we are back into the game, though. 1,000 gold lead for Coast, despite the dragon take of Fusion, giving them some stats. We'll see if that pans out for much. Huhi is holding pretty equal to Jess in his mid lane. He's got plenty of flash charges, too.
Exactly. He brought the flask first, and that's what's allowing him to stay in this lane, as well as the W mana.
And yeah, he's going to be nice and fond of that one. I love that W is like missing mana, so you can go to like 1% and you get like 50 back. And you're like, yeah, cast another spell. Feels like really good. It's like last hit with W on Kassadin. Lee Sin, though.
Doesn't feel good when people auto you and you do it.
No, but you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
Getting mana back is more important than health, right?
Looking for some camp on Mash here at MacNoon. He's not off to a good start. He's behind both against Chris and also just all around in terms of what's happening in the game. 6 CS. Sheep almost has more CS than him.
But this is just Nintendo looking for a counter gank here, because there's no way they could dive the Ezreal, but it's going to be a 3-on-2. This is not good for MacNoon. Lee Sin's here, but Nintendo's not even going to try. He throws a Q, but leaves his opponent to get roasted there. MacNoon buying what time he can, but Mash gets the kill. What a great gank by Coast.
Nintendo sat up there for so long, didn't pull the trigger. Impaler was already there, and it was just Sheep coming up as well. Great Lantern gank.
I mean, the thing is, it was a good expectation by Fusion. Nintendo was there 20 seconds early for a counter gank, but it was a 3-on-2, and that was the real big issue.
And here they go again. They think the dive is going to happen. There's the bind.
Oh, Morgana out of nowhere. That's the right play. Glebe Glarby makes it happen. Now Mash, level 6, it looks like they're going to be fine.
And this is the thing that's actually, I want to go back to that last gank, because MacNoon, if you keep his flash timer, he's such an aggressive player and doesn't play around that cooldown that you can exploit that. And it's something I've been seeing in Fusion's play, is that he ends up like 0-8 sometimes because you camp him after you get that early flash.
Wow, Nien going for this battle against Chris. Looks like Nien thought he would win it, and he was right. Chris burns his cooldowns, but then realizes auto attacks a little bit stronger from the AD carry, has to back out. Nien holds control of this lane, and I believe it'll stay frozen.
Oh, Glebe. Mash has enough for an E.
It's 90 mana. I don't know if he does at this low level. He flashes and summon heals away. Nice dodge in the binding, though. There he finally got mana enough. Now, is this enough burning? Yes, it is. MacNoon claims one back. Fusion firing in.
Yeah, you're right. It was a little bit too low.
Wow. He had forced a flash. The Flay had missed, but just to predict it anyway. Yeah, Ezreal has the highest mana cost escape among any AD carry, I believe. And that's why some people buy tier. In fact, he bought 2. Oh, he sold 1. He did have 2. You saw it.
Yeah, I'm glad he sold it before he actually used an ability.
Oh my god, yeah.
Or it charged itself.
Yeah, you have to sell it back for the reduced cost instead of full. Oh god, MacNoon. Okay, he's fine. True Shot Barrage only hit about 1 minion there, so MacNoon's going to be fine. Impaler had smited the... Is it Raptor, by the way? Did you check?
It is the Raptor.
Okay, so it's not Razorbeak.
They're not the Razorbeaks.
I was wrong on Friday. I'm sorry, League of Legends.
Yeah.
But Impaler, though, getting near to 6. This actually might be off this camp. He could get Grand Skyfall. Good shield by Jesses, blocks out the Q from Huhi. You're seeing a 3 CS difference in this mid lane. This Kassadin so far, he burned his flash early on, but he's got Rift Walk now. That Summoner Spell loss did not get punished really at all. Then Huhi is holding up nicely.
Yeah, instead they focused that top lane and picked on Macnoon a little bit. But Macnoon able to get himself a kill off of Mash. And the big thing here is Nian Tanso, he's going a little bit unchecked right now.
Oh, he walked through that. You guaranteed saw that ward.
He's the blind monk.
Okay, he felt the presence of that ward with his innate sonar. I don't know what to tell you, man, but...
He brushed by it, but he thought it was just a rock.
Oh my gosh. You can feel like you could feel that, though. Either way, though, Lee Sin, I thought he was coming in just to shove the lane out, and I think it's just actually... He's actually buying time. He needed to shove the wave to get to blue. They pinged the ward. Yeah, it's Glebe who goes. So that's actually good communication by Fusion. He doesn't stop for the ward. He does what's right for the team, pulls Glebe to do it. Actually, it's really smart by Fusion.
Yeah, so that he's not pulled away from the buff, exactly.
Yep.
So a big thing here is the fact that Nian Tanso, he's just back the first time. He was up in CS, but Mash, he was able to lane swap until he got his tier and an AD item. So you avoid that tier kind of dip where you spent money on non-combat stats.
And the thing to keep in mind as well is the items they bought are asymmetric. So if you have like pickaxe with BS, you're like, oh, I just have more damage than you. But like Sheen versus pickaxe is like, well, you're gonna land your Qs? Like, are you gonna get the procs? Or are we gonna be in an all-out brawl where 25 AD matters more? And in fact, Manamune already completed now as well. So Mash right into that power spike.
Gendu to the mid. This is it. Sheep's already here. Sheep is just roaming around the map. Because this lane swap happens, he's able to just have pressure all over the place because he doesn't have to deal with Glebe in a lane and just kind of go toe-to-toe. He's able to just leave, apply pressure mid, apply pressure top.
And that's really one of the great things about this is the way that Coast have played with this Thresh is really interesting. Now, in the general sense, you'd say, well, Coast wants a 2v2. They feel like their bottom lane is better. They think it's going to be really strong. On the other hand, Morgana's a lane counter pick. On the other hand, Thresh is a better roamer, and so by creating this lane swap, they dodge the lane counter pick, and they actually create more playmaking opportunities, letting Sheep go do his thing, and, well, he's 1-1-2, 100% kill participation.
Dragon is up right now. They don't have vision of it. There's the bind.
Ooh, a lot of damage. Sheep is gonna go down. He's been roaming around, but he's getting caught a little bit too much. He's also 2/3 of the death for his team, and Fusion in control.
And here's the thing, too, is Coast already have a ward at the Dragon Pit.
They have the Scuttler.
And they... No, they have a ward there. And they still, yeah, it looks the same on the minimap. I do that all the time. But yeah, they have a ward there, and look at that.
The flash low, trades flash with Jess's, Q misses, he's gonna be okay. Oh, actually, ooh, nice black shield. But that shockwave's pretty good. Teleport comes in from Macnoon. And in comes True Shot Barrage. Chris is going to flash in as well. This battle is going to begin. Huhi forced to get away with Summoner Heal. He does stay alive. Macnoon very low, stays into the last second, and the bind catches Chris. One more auto. That's the Intasso getting the kill. Another one for Fusion. Hook comes in. Sheep doesn't want it, though. Huhi does. Jess is one hit from dead. Ignite is on the flay. The rocket from downtown. What a nice play by Nian.
Nian Tanso, he's put his carry pants on for this game. 2-0-1, put himself in a great position here. And as the shot caller of the team, you know he's telling them to continue to go and get him more kills.
Dude, his call right there is, woo, I killed that guy. All right, let's go do something else. That's cool.
His call's probably like, watch this.
Guys, everyone look at me. Okay, now look at him. Now back at me. I have 300 gold more.
But yeah, they had control of that Dragon area. That was a very questionable play by Coast. They didn't have to force this issue. They didn't have to check anywhere around here at all because they knew that the Dragon wasn't being done. There's no rush. Blue isn't up. They already have it. Chris decides to go in, and Mash is trying to flank around. But Mash's contribution to this fight is nothing. He stands there, he misses two things, and then he walks away.
Wow, Chris actually starts and ends his ult early as well. He ulted before he flashed the wall, and then he ended it early for burst, trying to catch Huhi when he'd already flashed out.
Yeah, there's all these things that went very wrong for Coast there. And Mash still does nothing in that fight. He came off from a flank and wasn't able to actually get in as that Ezreal.
And it's pretty impressive sort of seeing how these teams are battling each other because, well, I guess I should say it's interesting because both teams have elements they want to power up over time. You've got a believed to be Rod of Ages from Chris up in the top lane. You've got a Manamune bot right now for Mash. At the same time, you've got a tier on Huhi, and it's like, well, everyone kind of wants to scale up, but who's better right now? And turns out it's Fusion.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations like the Catalyst, like you said, it could be a Rod of Ages, it could be a Righteous Glory, which is an item that I personally love.
I think
because I'm just a forward motion engaged type of person. But that item is like, hey, you like Talisman of Ascension and Randuin's and Rod of Ages? It's all combined into one item.
Nice.
It's so good. And Maokai is arguably the best top lane champion to buy that item on.
I agree. It fits his playstyle incredibly well.
But I don't know how it's going to fit into this team, right? Like, I think the Rod of Ages might be a better pick.
So when I was talking to, I'm trying to remember who it was now. It was Curse Academy top. Yeah, it was Hansar. He was talking about that. So yeah, Dragon number 2 goes over to Fusion. Well controlled. Nice job to them.
Binding from the bush?
It's too far. The minion's in the way. Now Sheep could no, he'd be visible before he throws it out. So there's nothing available.
Oh?
He could have Black Shield walked in, ulted. Oh, nice instincts. Wow, that was really fortunate, though. They had all walked into the brush.
They backed out. Yeah, it was just that moment where they were like, all right, he's shoving the wave. We have to get to the turret instead of flanking around. Like, they could have even just had one person wrap around and then the rest of them stand there and start it. But Niantanso, he wants that farm.
Yeah, it was very odd decision-making. I think they didn't want to reveal themselves as, like, in bot lane to keep that roaming thing like a guess because they weren't in wards at the time.
Yeah,
but
they were on a pink ward, so they knew there was no wards there.
But yeah, they didn't want to like show themselves bot lane to a failed gank because they wanted to keep pressure by being in Fog of War on the top lane and the mid lane, and that just ended up not paying out. They're like, oh, let's call it off. Oh crap, we could have had it after all.
And then they lost everything.
I know. Revealed and everything. Just nothing happening. Well, both duos have respawned. Jess is pretty much right on the cooldown for that one. He's going to get his second blue of the game. 9 health left in that. Picks it up. And a pretty late grab here for Huhi and Nintendo, but really not a big deal. Now we're back into the standard bottom lane here.
And here's the thing is, a lot of people have been going for the Morellonomicon in the mid lane, but Orianna is still the champion that goes for the Athenes. Big reason behind that is because all you have to do is slap a shield on somebody and you get an assist, and then you get the bonus of the missing mana regen.
That's a good point. Yeah, I realized that Jesses had been buying Athenes a lot more than other mid laners. But hold on, Nintendo getting jumped on. Nice kick back onto Impaler. That was beautiful. Down goes Impaler, and MacNewton is not done. Chris in a bad spot as well. What a great roam by Huhi. Gets a double kill.
Nintendo saying, I saw your play yesterday, Impaler. I can play this champion too. This is a champion that we actually haven't seen Nintendo on in this tournament. He was all J4, 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 Elise. Just he had like 7 games back-to-back of Jarvan the 4th. They banned it out, he played Elise. And people are like, what does he have in his pool? His pool is so thin. I remember seeing comments and everybody's like, what else does he play? What does the dude play? And apparently it's the Lee Sin.
Well, they said his pool was thin, but they meant to say his pool was sin. That was bad. Yes, the audience, the groans, they are back. I missed you all so much. Fusion doing well in the bot lane, 15 CS lead, but here comes Impaler. Nice dodge by Gleam.
A lot of damage on Gleam.
Nice black shield though. Perfect timing. Impaler getting locked up. He dies right after respawning, and now Mash is about to go down as well. One more rocket for the summoner heal and no mana left, but here comes Huhi, and that's going to be his 3rd kill in a row.
Nien tanking the turret for Huhi, because Nien has to back no matter what because he's out of mana.
Yeah.
And Huhi, they can still keep him on the field, but he is still going to back because he has that extra gold.
He's probably going to get this Roa here at this point. Gets the full stacks. Yep. There's the Roa. 16 minutes. Not bad when you buy a tier as well, but this is such a good start for Fusion. And talking to their team, they said, look, we think we're the favorites. We think if we win game 1, it's over. They think Coast will be crushed if they can take this game.
Yeah, Fusion have been struggling in their games, and the fact that they can get a lead like this, but we'll talk about that in a second. No mana.
Equalizer. 2 summoners lost for this one. The flash on in, though. Can they keep the chase? Nice dodge on the Sonic Wave. The hook in as well. The Flay not quite in turret range. Sheep, though, is going to go down, but here comes Impaler. Can he make this happen? Not enough damage. 4 unanswered kills.
Impaler's impact on this game has been extremely low, considering what he was doing yesterday and being this carry for his team. Everything's kind of going wrong for Coast because Fusion is just playing the map perfectly with the roam from Huhi, who had a decent lane, and then he just started getting kills on Kassadin.
No, it's such a smart choice. I mean, right now, Huhi's my MVP. His roams have been ludicrously good. But think back to the styles we talked about. Jesses is a player that plays safe, gets his farm, right? Jesses, Coast of the team that banned is that it's not like a champion that Jesses really is going to play. It's like, all right, let's try to get rid of some of those individual playmakers that, you know, the other team can play that we don't. Well, you blind pick Kassadin in the mid lane, and suddenly you've got a really good matchup.
Yeah, and Huhi, he loves to roam. Syndra, Kassadin, LeBlanc, his top champions, Zed. He likes these mid-game impact champions that he can eventually start split pushing with because he got so many kills. That's usually his MO.
And it's been beautiful so far. 4-0-2. Really, it's interesting because it's spread out kills all across the team. No one's got more than 7 kills and assists together, but it's still Fusion looking quite good. Bottom lane turret goes down to the lane dominance. Triforce done for Nien.
And I do have to give a lot of points to Glebe here, because yesterday he kind of just disappeared and Bunny was schooling him on how to support.
Yeah.
It really was just kind of a masterclass by Bunny, and Glebe did not look like the caliber player that we know him to be. He's kind of woken up today. The bindings have been on point. The black shield timings have been really good, and stunting Impaler's stuns. That he deserves a lot of credit here for this bot lane and how it's been going.
Yeah, well, Glebe really wants to make plays around this map, though. Moby Boots and Alacrity Boots already done on the guy, so he is going to be zipping around the map. He's going for, I believe, the fast Frost Queen's claim as well, so he's going to have some extra slows to add. He just wants to run around and make plays the entire game.
And that's really what this team is all about here on Fusion, is they're trying to roam around the map and then group up for a Rumble Ultimate or a Dragon. And that's really how they're going to accomplish the win here and get this game in their favor, because they've got the roams. They're strong enough to start team fighting around Dragon over an Orianna. But here's the thing is, he's been farming up. Second highest farm in the game on that Orianna. He's ready to get some Shockwaves.
I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Shockwave by itself until you're like 40 minutes into the game doesn't do significant damage. Here comes the engage. Equalizes on. Nice dash away by Mash. Oh, good Shockwave under 2. Black Shield keeps Nien fairly safe. Valkyrie's out, but the team is in. A 1-for-0 traded back now by Chris. Then the stun's going to come out. Impaler into the back lines as well. 2-for-2 in this battle. And MacNoon getting chased down. Looks like the Shockwave was enough. The follow-up was there. That is a fight won by Coast.
Yeah, you don't need the damage. You just need the displacement, and you need a little bit of that damage on those carries. Nien just gets evaporated, and that's the jungler down. Impaler, this will be an easy smite for him, but they just have to keep them out of the pit.
And 1700 health, I should say, left on this one. Impaler's smite is up, grabs it very cleanly. Dragon number 1 goes to Coast, and they are back in this game.
Yep, that's the first one for Coast. Fusion already have one from that earlier part. They have 2?
Yeah.
Oh.
They got the lane swap dragon and the one from the fight not long ago.
That's right.
About 7 minutes ago.
See, dragon counter, one of these days.
It's coming. We've actually had the mock-ups sent internally in the LCS. We're going to do that stuff, don't worry. We will have some dragon counters in the new season, I can promise you that. Fusion.
We already have some. They're right there in the bottom left.
Yeah, you just got to click on a player. Actually, our spectators do that on purpose. They'll click across the teams every dragon.
Yeah, I love those guys. And here's the Shockwave that starts this fight off, but Sheep also gets the hook at the same time. So Nien Tanso, they try to save him, but then the flay backwards, they've already broken the black shield, and then Chris is on him, and Nien is out of the fight right at the get-go. And Mash was actually off on the side, distracting Huhi the entire time. And now Huhi can't get back into this fight because Coast has separated and routed Fusion.
And I gotta say, this is one of the reasons, I'm gonna say it every time Ezreal's in the game, this is one of the reasons I love Ezreal. He has backline reach, the Shockwave caught in, the Rod of Ages Chris actually helps him do more damage to that backline. He gets to be a damage threat. So Ezreal ult plus Shockwave plus Chris just being Maokai, those 3 together took down Nien Tanso. A little bit of help from Sheep as well, but just those guys were all able to participate in bursting down a squishy 80 carry.
Yeah, and if they've watched any of the games that Fusion have lost, all 5 of them, you will see that Nien Tanso is usually one of the big linchpins in this team. And if you take him out early, it's a little harder to shot call while you're dead. It is actually a little harder.
Yeah.
So, because you have to watch the map. You don't have color at that point, too.
Oh, man.
It just gets really rough.
Which team am I on? I don't even remember anymore. Take down that gray turret. What?
Yeah, but then you can't use yourself as a reference point. You can't be like, back with me. Or get behind me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Instead, you have to kind of play chess and move people around, or like tell them what to do or what the overall strategy is. But the people who are alive usually have a better grasp of the situation.
That's generally pretty true. You're right, and you got us. It's also just harder to keep track of cooldowns and everything. But you know what? Nien so far 4-1-2, generally doing pretty well in this game. Fusion still look to be the aggressive team. All the minion waves, save for the top lane, are being pushed in toward Coast territory. And Huhi, I think, is going to remain untouched for a large portion of this game. He's ahead and he's Kassadin.
Look at these supports. They're just hanging off in Fog of War, trying to get picks on both the AD carries, but like Sheep is like stalking Nien, and Glebe is stalking Mash. It's just creating this really awkward, like, love triangle, love square.
Well, but look at this pink ward by Fusion, though. I don't want to like do a non sequitur to your point, but they have like a pink ward like chilling in the enemy jungle.
Just so they don't put one over the wall.
This part of the jungle so well that no one's going to clear that, and it's worth 100 gold investment.
Here's the thing, they've just been hanging around that area.
Yeah, because they own that side of the map. I mean, the turrets are dead. They are still the advantage team, but I've never seen that pink ward spot, I don't think. by the team pushing in that far.
It's just so that they don't ward over that wall
Yeah.
into there, and they just clear it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great ward. It's just unique is all.
Well, they're going to be more unique ward spots in 4.20 because games, they're a little harder to close out. You have to rely on Baron, you have to rely on Dragons, so people are going to be like, we need more picks, we need them more frequently, and in the late game, a lot of warding is going to be happening.
The thing is, I actually am curious how much of it is the changes themselves and how much of it is unfamiliarity with the changes. I remember in the beginning of Season 4 of 2014, inhibitor deaths were shorter, and they no longer buffed minions in the other lanes, and teams had a really hard time understanding getting minion control back. But Chris, though, very caught out. That is just a quick kill. But people were having a really hard time getting the minion waves under control because they were used to the side lanes pushing for free. They're like, wait, we have to recall and push them and then push and then set them up, and like it took a few months for teams to get used to that.
It sounds like Baron right now.
Right.
Where you get Baron,
not used to what Baron does.
You have that reduced cast time on your recall, and then split pushing is more effective.
Yeah, that's right. You actually split push with Baron kind of frequently, and you've got really strong pushes there. Also, how often we're going to see Elixirs of Ruin, Banners of Command, things like that. I feel like they're going to be more likely.
There have been a bunch of Banners of Command in this tournament.
That's true. I guess I've never gotten to cast many of them, so
I saw watching a VOD yesterday, and then he used it on a melee minion. It increases its attack speed, so it's huge, and it's just flailing around with its little hammer.
Nice.
It looks ridiculous. It's also immune to magic, which is
massive, especially when you're considering that Fusion have basically only that damage type in their lineup here. So where's Chris Academy with their triple locket when you need them? Because that would be really useful here.
And triple locket strategy with those shields. They do have diminishing returns.
Yeah. But I'm not saying you need 3, but...
He's got 1. They got 1 on Fusion side.
Yeah, but I think Coast needs them more. Like,
yeah. Coast needs
every single person's a match damage profile.
It usually takes him a long time to get out of building damage.
Yeah, that's why I feel like Sheep needs to be getting that as his next item there. And he's still building towards Face of the Mountain, though. He's actually been denied a little bit here, Sheep. So it's going to be, I think, a slow road for income there for that. And it's going to be a really late locket, unfortunately, unless that's next from Chris.
Nintendo's off on the side, looking for some way to get into this fight. But here's the thing, it's the 1-3-1 from Fusion. Again, this is their strategy. Every single game that I've watched them is Huhi splits a lane, Backnoon splits a lane. The other 3 go mid, and it's ridiculous because it usually bites them in the foot, or shoots them in the foot. Bites them in the ass, shoots them in the foot, whatever.
Both.
Bites them in the foot.
Bites them in the foot, I love it. Wow, you can see no vision control at all. Ulti forced to be used on Baron, and they don't even spot Fusion. They don't know necessarily they're hiding in this brush. Oh, they ping it. They're like, they're probably there. They were right.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a lot of the personalities of these members. Like Backnoon, he's always been the carry. He likes to just carry from the top lane. But then when you split push as a top laner, and then your mid laner is also the type of person who likes to do that, you leave so many things open. Like this dragon.
Well, he does have teleport. There's not a lot of great wards, though, for Fusion. They were not really well set up for this one. Well, he could maybe head over pretty soon. There's the first teleport coming in. Now, can they stop this? 3,000 health. The Intanso's around. They do force them back, but this Shockwave is going to be so worrisome. They go in. Nice steal by Nintendo, but he's going to die for this one. Shockwave catches Nien as well. Chris goes forward. Stun in for Gleave. They're going to trade 1-for-1. Equalizer comes down, separates the team. Impaler is isolated. Huhi into the back lines. Can he dodge away from Mash? Oh. He cannot. He's going to go down, but Sheep now the target in the Dragon Pit. Another kill picked up. Only 2 members alive for Team Coast. Looks like 2 members alive for Fusion, though, as well. But with that plus Dragon, it's a better fight for the blue team.
Jess is trying to... Everybody's just trying to get to safety here.
1Q could do it from Mash. Oh. Flash, nice auto attack with the Triforce. Backnoon, though, if Mash sees this, he kills him.
Just trying to get away, trying to keep himself alive.
We did aggro Gromp. That would have been 200 damage on Nien.
Ooh. Yeah, and that fight was extremely hectic, and Nintendo picks up the Dragon for his team, the 3rd Dragon for Fusion in this game. Really big part of this fight is the fact that Hui's not there, but then at the same time, Nintendo picks it up and everybody goes, we have to go. Chris actually uses his Twisted Advance on Nintendo, and then he tries to get to Nien Tanso right after this. But then the Morgana Binding just stops him, and he can't get there because of the movement speed slow. Huhi off on the side follows Mash, and he actually gets his ultimate off right as Huhi is rift walking. Tries to get off and gets him, but Sheep already in the pit with Backnoon, and you just saw how that fight went. But look at this.
And it was actually an early smite by Impaler, too, because I was looking at it, and Nintendo's like, Nintendo doesn't do enough damage to one-shot. That's a 1,200 health, and Impaler smites early, and Nintendo gets it. So,
yeah, and
unfortunate miss-smite there.
A big thing about that is smites are 50-50. If Sheep steps up and is able to, like, flay the Lee Sin out of the queue, you add more chances You add yourself just more percentage on top of that to keep him out of it. And it's one of those things that not enough teams do, is they kind of just be like split around the dragon.
Oh, well, Chris just walks into the enemy team out of nowhere. He thinks he's setting up the fight, and he gets lanterned out. Actually, that might be great, but Equalizer is on Jess's two-man shockwave is not enough. One kill picked up, and Paler gonna go down 2-0. Fusion, ill-advised fight from Coast.
Beautiful Equalizer from MacNoon, and they're gonna go straight after the Baron at 28 minutes.
Well, Smite is up for Nintendo. The enemy jungler is dead for 23 seconds. Baron already at half health. This will be a clean grab in Fusion in under 29 minutes, heavily in the driver's seat.
Wow, and that's a big chunk of gold. Baron is 1,525 gold that falls right into their pockets. Basically 5 kills. Fusion is a team that is almost always up in kills in their games, up in gold, but then they just can't close it out. And if you get equalizers like that, it's definitely going to help you. Jesus is on this the entire time. He just loves that red carpet.
The thing is, Ezreal was never part of this fight. I actually do not know why Coast started this battle. They had wards. They saw Fusion running through their jungle on top of wards.
They were trying to help Chris, but at the same time, exactly. But at the same time, Chris has been picked off multiple times in this game, and Mash, he was just farming the wolves. He's trying to get CS. He's trying to be like a contest for Niantanso, who's 8-1-4 already on this high-impact Corki, whereas Blue Ezreal is one of these champions that's more kite-oriented. It's not that huge damage dealer in the mid-game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the weird thing I think about this team composition is that he is playing a very pokey build, and pokey builds are fine. I don't dislike this build in isolation by Ezreal. The problem is I don't know if it makes sense in this composition, this Ezreal build, because it's a bunch of hard engage leading into a protracted team fight where you're going to be auto-attacking.
He's also got a QSS already. He's got some extra magic resistance, which is fine because who he's going to be diving him. But at the same time, there isn't really anything on this team besides a binding that he would QSS. And if you're getting binding while being Ezreal, you can have a problem.
It is very strange.
With your poke build, you should not be even near the fight to get binding.
I guess he's potentially concerned about like a Flash Riftwalk Force Pulse or something from Huhi, but I do agree that it feels early to me. That said, Nian's building one himself, but he's building it after his 3rd damage item. That's like a reasonable timing on that kind of item. Is like, well, okay, I'm a really big damage threat. In case something happens, I can QSS out. There's the Force Pulse back. Mash at half health. Certainly wanted some MR for that one. With the push still continuing, Cannon minion there, buffed up by the Baron. Let's see if you should keep going mid.
And here's the thing too, is that these are Baron buffed up minions, and Coast only have 1 dragon. They don't have that extra damage to minions, the 15% of the second one.
It's true.
So these are very hard to clear this early on too.
And you can see the MacNoon split push still continuing. Huhi up in the top lane as well. This turret is taking a decent amount of damage from all this. MacNoon staying good and safe. Niantanso also got to point out, we were talking about, and Mash not being very auto-attack focused. Nian always, or almost always, goes Zerker Greaves on Corki. He's very auto-attack focused in this champion. I think it's also an acceptable build. It's an odd way to use Corki, but he can do plenty of DPS.
He went Sork Shoes and Haunting Guys one time.
Yeah, in the game they lost.
Yes.
I think the Haunting Guys is a bit overkill.
Yeah.
Because he had like no auto-attack DPS, but certainly something to keep in mind. MacNoon that this time does get a bit overextended. I don't know if he has a good way out. Grand Skyfall also coming in. Maybe a bit of overkill. Zonya's some fire, but that's going to be a dead MacNoon. Team not quite there to support him.
Buying some time, using some cooldowns, but they're not going to get anything for it. Don't even know if that was necessary. They did all he accomplished was really some damage to Jesses.
Yeah, I mean, basically he just bought time for nothing else to happen. He like helped clear minion wave, whatever. Honestly, those cooldowns are all back up when MacNoon revives anyway.
Yeah.
Like unless you're.
But if he fights immediately after, I don't know.
But at least like the cool thing for Fusion is they can fight on their own terms. They've still got time left on Baron buff. Like generally speaking, I'm okay with like burning short cooldowns for things like that just to get like a minion wave. I think it's all right.
Just in case your team gets to you in time. Things like that.
Yeah, you just kind of do it just because you just should. Like Equalizer is 3/4 back, and he's now reviving. So I think it's chill.
The dragon is up in 3 seconds.
Oh, okay, that's actually going to be an important part then. He didn't quite time it for that. It's unlikely, though, that Coast can test with an 11,000 gold deficit and 4 Baron buffs in the enemy team.
I'm more concerned about his Zonias is the thing, because if it happens, the fight happens like right now, he doesn't have his Zonias up.
Yeah, it's a longer cooldown, you're right.
Squishier target. But thankfully, Coast are not going to have anything to say about this. So he doesn't get punished for it.
Right, not a problem. Dragon number 4 now comes in for Fusion. They've got bonus turret damage now in this patch, and this is going to make their siege all the easier. Baron buff has timed out, though, which means it's respawning in 3 minutes. It's a timer that both teams can pretty reasonably have. But now the question is, okay, Fusion, you had problems closing out games before. In fact, you had a lead bigger than this and lost in Game 1 against Final 5. Coast, ostensibly or arguably a better team here. Can Fusion close it out now?
Yeah, and the fact that Fusion have now had more time on this patch, more competitive experience with trying to close games out over these last couple of days, and a 4th Dragon, that's definitely going to help them take out these turrets and get to these inhibitors. But the team fight is something they had to worry about. But Coast, very low damage composition here that kind of relies on Jess's.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Jess, though, he did hit that big power spike. He got the 3 core AP items, the big CDR one, the Death Cap, and Void. Those are the 3 you want on every AP champion, basically. And now you can actually put in some meaningful shockwaves. Unfortunately, there was a Locket and even a Guardian Angel in for Corki. Wait, did he? Oh, he wasn't going for QSS. The Null Magic Mantle was for Guardian Angel instead for Nian. So he's going to be pretty hard to kill overall. I don't see how this Fusion lineup's going to die.
Fountain diving.
Yeah, I mean, if they overcommit, there's always a possibility. But in a straight, like, fair fight, this should be an easy battle for Fusion.
If it was a fair fight, they'd both have 58,000 gold.
Okay, fine.
I got you.
No,
I'll give you a hard time.
No, you're absolutely right to do that. That's totally fair. I would do the same thing to you, so it's understandable that you're being a jerk to me.
I missed you.
Oh, I missed you too. Even your lame trolling with me. Oh, the hook on a Nian. The Black Shield is late. Flame's not going to mean much, though. And here comes the engage. Jess is 1 hit from Dead Pantheon on the back lines. Nintendo goes down first, and Mash kites away safely. Maybe, just maybe, MacNoon, yes, gets hooked into the basically the base there. Huhi trying to do what he can, but this fight is going quite nicely for Team Coast. 3 members already dead. The rest are forced to run. Hectic engage in a battle won by Coast.
3 for 2.
Yep.
Yeah, they ended up diving that turret off of a hook. Jez's didn't even get a shockwave off, though. That could have been a very different fight.
It could have been a 5 for 0 if he shockwaved 5 people, but wasn't the case in this one. I mean, it was a good initial burst.
That's usually how Orianna operates, too. It's like, that could have been a great fight if I had gotten an ability off. He's being really defensive here, but he gets kicked away. His ball is on him at this point. He flashes away, but Huhi goes after him. So the entire strategy from the start of that fight was to get Jess's out of it, and then to keep Impaler away. He goes in on Bleep. They end up getting that kill for themselves. But look at this. MacNoon going really hard. He doesn't even get to Mash. And this is part of the QSS. He popped it there to get rid of a slow and to get out. Yeah, at the very end, honestly, I think the QSS was useless. He used it after he had Arcane shifted away and after the Rumble was hooked. But honestly, I do got to say that was MVP to Sheep in that fight because he made the choice to go peel mode to say, I'm going to stop MacNoon, I'm going to stop Huhi, I'm going to keep Mash alive. Did so beautifully, guaranteed that kill on MacNoon. It was a great play. Taylor over here. The QSS did give him MR though, so. That's a good point. Oh. No, that's totally fair. And now Baron at 5,000 health. Impaler, will he try the ulti? That's all he's got. He doesn't have smite. He'd have to ulti. And man. It's late. Oh. Yeah, he cancels. He's like, you know what? There's no way that's going to happen. Backs on now. Baron number 2 now for Team Fusion. Dragon's up in about 3-ish minutes, and maybe they wait for this one, but now with Baron buff, the siege should be even easier. So here's the thing, is Fusion going to wait for that 5th Dragon and risk it? Because that they would be grouped up. That does open some opportunities for Coast to counter and to like beat them there and say, oh, you know what, it's all or nothing. Or they can push up with Baron, and they have that 4th Dragon buff for sieging turrets. I'm curious to see which one it ends up being. Yeah, I think the hour in this game and our shot calling, I would say let's just siege with the Baron buff and take turrets. Let's keep the map control by sieging, and then if we get a fight, great. And otherwise, then say, okay, well, we can actually overlap Baron buff with Dragon number 5. Well, it's up in 2 minutes. Right, and Baron's on for another 3. Yeah. So you get 2 waves of Dragon 5 plus Baron. But if you don't make your move then, I think you're hesitating too much. You have a Trinity Force AD carry who can poke down turrets. Your team is pretty heavily melee. We talked about this a little bit on Friday's cast as well, where Curse Academy had this and their AD carry was Sever and everyone else was short range. But it's still, like, you have a black shielded Bloodthirster Guardian Angel AD carry. Like, you can hit some turrets. Yeah, his GA is currently down. He did get kind of focused in that fight. But still, you can't, like, you have an item lead this big, you can't just keep waiting. You don't spike harder than this. You don't get farther ahead at this point. So you actually have to start taking some kind of risk, or you let the gold lead go away, which is a bigger risk. Yeah. The question is, do they manipulate their minion waves and use the minion waves with the Baron, or are they going to get the Baron buff, power themselves up for taking turrets? It's kind of how's your play style? Is your play style like the Siege with the minions, or is it we're just going to tower dive you and just have ridiculous stats?
Yeah, I think you use 5 people and use Nian to hit this turret down. It regens incredibly slowly. You've got a Trinity Force on a lot of attack damage as AD carry. This turret should be taking a lot more damage. Yeah, there you go. See? But he didn't auto attack. But that's the thing. Like every wave, you just Black Shield, take 4 autos, and it's dead in 2 waves.
Going back and forth the Siege. Dragon, 25 seconds now. Fusion, they can continue the Siege for as long as they want. They just can't take a reckless team fight again.
But this is the last wave before Dragon respawns. Let's see how much they get here. Down to half HP. They're really not trying. Nian gets hooked again. They're not preparing for this. Shockwave catches. Down goes one. MacNoon. Zhonya's in the middle of it all. Equalizer comes down but misses almost everyone. And Chris making a lot of work there. 2 for 1 so far. Now Huhi out of position. He's going to go down as well. Severe misplay by Fusion. And Ghost win another fight.
The Black Shield was MIA there on Nian Tanso. And he gets hooked in, and the shockwave from Jez's turns that fight around, and now they're going for this dragon. Can they get it?
This is a gigantic risk. They get it, and nice. Okay, that was good. That was good.
Really
they saved
good.
the right cooldowns. They snuck Dragon number 5. In fact, I believe you can be dead, respawn, and still have Dragon 5. It's not treated the same way as Baron buff. It's just a state that everyone has, and so that'll be an attempt here. But here's the replay of that fight. The Nian hook. Nian
right across.
intended with one Black Shield.
That was an Ezreal ultimate across the Orianna ultimate, and MacNoon gets his ultimate down, but off on the right side, everybody just walks out of it after his Zhonya's. 2 members brought down to about 20% HP in the first couple seconds of that fight, and then the other one had to Zhonya's. That little group up there, and the hook, and then everybody trying to get to Nian Tanso really cost them, and Jez is capitalizing on that position, and Sheep's hook.
What I do like, though, is the shot calling by Nian, I assume by Nian at the end of that fight, because so Corki was done for, Lee Sin was pretty much done for. They backed off immediately, and all he did was buy time. Said, look, you guys, enemy team, chase me around. My teammates are taking Dragon right now, by the way. They ran right down, took the Dragon. They had the timer on the respawn. They crushed that thing, and everyone else bought time. So yes, Dragon number 5 is still on the rest of Fusion. Nintendo still holds Baron buff for a few more seconds. They've got a chance to push this down. Baron buff timed out.
Yeah.
But it's Dragon
It's
5.
now.
Like, this is a real chance to make some great things here for Fusion.
And they actually go to a different turret than the one they had previously been sieging.
They need to push the wave out because they're worried about Dragon running out. It's only got 90 seconds left. They lost all mini wave control because of the near ace. So Coast set the map back up to a decent spot. Like, look at the ward control. They just barely, Fusion, managed to throw some wards in that upper jungle there because Coast wasn't able to contest them for it. But Fusion have to like rebuild this push from square one, and this all just buys time for Baron to respawn, for the Dragon buff to time out, and for gold to flow into Coast pockets.
And this has been a problem with Fusion since the first day we saw them against Final 5. Their closing games out is extremely hard for this team. They just don't seem to have the calling, or at least the strategic mind, to finish the game, despite being up thousands, tens of thousands of gold at this point.
Oh yeah. They're up 13k now. Like, the weird thing is they've been losing fights, but they've been gaining in gold because they've had such map control. They get to take over the jungle. But Nian Tanso, like, by and large, is too afraid of hitting turrets, and Glebe's never there to make him feel safe, which is just very strange to me. It should honestly be easier than this to push these turrets down.
The Coast
But good
composition,
job by
though,
Coast to defend.
Coast composition really is just centric around Jesses and a Shockwave, but there goes Glebe.
Hard engaged, the Zhonya's the ulti, a lot of damage. Sheep does get stunned. Hook comes out though, great equalizer as well, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 so far. Impaler in the front lines, his turret doing a lot of damage to Nintendo. Huhi going to get caught out, and in fact, 3 more members die for 1. I thought the fight was good. It wasn't. Fusion lose another battle.
Jesses ended up using his Shockwave right as the engage happened, and he kept Nian Tanso out of the fight again. He just can't get to this back line, and he's still not doing anything to this turret either.
And the thing is, this is Fusion trying to problem solve.
Yeah.
They're saying, okay guys, the siege wasn't working, let's try a dive. That didn't work either.
Watch, this is beautiful. Jesses throws the ball there, chunks Nian and MacNoon as soon as Glebe engages, so he splits the fight, and then Chris re-engages, and Impaler jumps in to deal his damage. And man, they're just peeling for Mash. Mash has been very safe in these fights in the late game.
A nice stun layering by Impaler too. No chance to Zhonya's for the Rumble.
It's like a
Huhi, of course,
6-foot
is free.
man drop just to reposition yourself instead of running at people and to deal the magic damage.
Yeah, one thing I think Fusion has to learn is rushing the back line isn't working. Mash is actually highly defensive in his build. He's got some extra armor, which doesn't mean a ton, but the QSS and lifesteal actually means enough that he's not going down to just Kassadin. Kassadin's overall damage is actually a lot lower than it was back in the beginning of 2014. you don't get to one-shot people by yourself. You have great chasing power. If you have backup, you'll kill people eventually, but you don't one-shot anybody this late in the game, and he's still trying to do it.
Fusion has been sieging for about 13 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
This Baron is about to come up again.
The third time.
The third time. And Coast, they have position on it, and there are no inhibitor turrets even cracked on Coast's side. They don't have any naked inhibs.
So Fusion, here's the thing. They're still up 3 turrets, so they still, like, even if they lose a fight, they almost definitely can't lose the game off of it, but they are, of course, slipping backwards in this one. They do have control right now over Baron. They've got the pickwork control, they've got the scuttler, they cleared wards out. These are all good things for them. The fact is they haven't found a way to get into the base, and Coast, honestly, I almost feel like they might want to just give up Baron because clearly the base defense is working.
Yeah,
I think they're still down in gold.
I have to keep watching these team fights from Fusion because my theory is that their team fighting is kind of sloppy. It's really sloppy because it's just a consistent thing. It's not just one game they have sloppy team fights. It's their team fights are all over the place. And I think it's because of, once again, they have that style of 2 very aggressive players who just like to do their own thing. Macnoon, Kuhi, they are split pushers in a 1-3-1 constantly. And then when you group up, they still kind of do their own thing. Like, Macnoon is all about, let's get that Rumble ultimate down for myself.
Do dive, man.
And then Huhi is just go, get that back line. And it's not about just running through the Coast team. It's kind of like we're trying to get to step 4 when we have to go through 1, 2, and 3. But they just want to skip it.
Yeah, I mean, it is showing lack of coordination. Again, like there's been no Black Shield sieges. Like there's just been not the right elements here. Mash making a really good play by himself, gets binded, but he's fine. He's got the shields from Jess's. He's got the peel from Shiva. Something happened. Nothing goes bad there. Huhi forced a recall. Glebe Glarby's going to do the same here. And in an open field with a 12,000 gold lead, Fusion is getting bullied around by Coast.
Yeah, and 4 dragons to 1. It's another big thing.
Yeah.
Bash, he's hitting these parts where Ezreal is actually effective in these games. Dragon is up. They want to get it for themselves. They could do it fairly quickly, but at the same time, Fusion, they could melt this Baron, and that's why multiple members are going for it.
Oh, wow. Mash is soloing Dragon, but they've walked right on top of the ward here. He's going to go ahead and wait for that one, though. Sheep gets caught out by himself, and that is a free pick there. Nicely done, Nintendo to Ni and Tanso Huhi. And Glebe Glarby now ready to collapse on the mid lane, and Paler gets slowed down. Binding will miss, but Dragon gets picked up. That is number 2. Mash soloed that, but there's the TP. Gets canceled. Chris takes the Q from Huhi. He's got nowhere to go. There's the jump on in. That's the kill picked up. 5v3 for 40 seconds.
It gets canceled because Null Sphere cancels all channels.
Yep. And Fusion go for Dragon instead of pushing mid. I question this decision pretty heavily. They finally found a way to push the base, and they want the objective instead.
Well, they've gotten Baron multiple times, and it hasn't been doing it for them. But instead, they're going to try it again.
And Paler, I think he's going to steal this one away. He's got no flash. Good smite there. Nintendo hasn't missed a smite the entire game so far. He's been really on point. It's one thing I've noticed. I feel like in the new jungle, because you want to smite things early to like get the buff right away, like from Krugs or Gromp or whatever, you're trained to like smite early, and now everyone like misses their smites all the time, like because of the new season. Nintendo's done a really good job. Like I've never seen like the AD carry get a Dragon from his team.
Well,
it's always him getting it.
It was a great team on 419, so
yeah,
bring the 419 to the 420 and he's good.
Yeah, he's still smiting well on this one, so that's good. Here we go. Macnoon is setting up to split push bottom. He doesn't want to keep doing this. He has a whole bunch of damage in this build. Actually, this is very weird. He didn't go for Leandries. I normally see Leandries picked as like the second major item. I mean, he got it now, but after Void and after Abyssal and after Zonia's, like, it's very rare to me.
Yeah.
I trust Macnoon, but I never see that build.
He also has the most deaths on his team.
Yeah.
By a pretty decent margin. You know, the next one is Glebe Glarby with 5. But here's the thing is Macnoon, he was getting caught out. At one point, he had 11 assists, and I think only a handful of deaths, I think 4 or so. But since then, he's kind of been a focus. He's been too far forward as Rumble at the start of a fight.
Yeah.
Because Rumble's kind of like, I throw down the equalizer, and then I just run after people once my front line, which is going to be Nintendo in this case, goes in. They're trying to bypass Chris, who is peeling people off fairly effectively, and Impaler. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Fusion just says, all right, everybody go, and then they realize they reach the back line with like 1 or 2 people, because Chris locks somebody up, and Paler locks up the other, and Sheep is peeling.
Yeah. But here's the weird thing. Fusion actually has the poke siege advantage. like even though Mash went for this really pokey Ezra build, which is cool, and that would generally outpace Corki, you've got Morgana bindings and Black Shield. So you actually are going to have a better time playing the long-range patient siege game as Fusion. Oh, Glebe, nice Zonias, but this is not good for him. Nice Q, nice flash over the wall. He's going to stay safe, but Glebe is one hit from dead. He's like, okay, can anyone see me? No? Okay, empowered recall, but that bought even more time. Baron buff only has 2 minutes left. Fusion have to wait for Glebe to come back, and he's going to take 30 seconds to get back across the map.
1-3-1 split push here from Fusion. This is the team that always does this, and when you have Baron, it should work extremely effectively, but they have yet to crack the base still.
And it's a 1-2, and look at that damage. He lost 3/4 of his health to a non-ulti combo from Jess's. Imagine if he actually pops R, that's a kill, or the Zhonya is forced to be used preemptively. So this is so dangerous. Fusion just have not solved this problem.
And it's been a consistent thing from day to day, right? Like Fusion take off with the game in the mid game. Like they have to get through the early game, take off in the mid game, get immense amounts of gold, and then they just kind of sit on this pile. They're like that. They're like a dragon in a mountain. They're like, this is my stash.
Team Smaug.
And I'm there.
Team Smaug. Has little hobbits keep running around though and getting rid of them.
What do you even need to do with that? Why do you have like 50, 100 swords?
It's shiny.
You're
okay?
a dragon. You can't even hold a sword.
Well, League of Legends taught us you can hold 6 swords and they all stack. So you deal with this right now.
You're like Shiva.
Yes. Oh, Neotatsu finally learns he can just crush this turret down. Nicely done here on this one. They can force everyone else to back out here.
They need to just muscle these turrets down. Instead, they're trying to go to just champions first that are far away.
You know what they need? Poppy. Poppy would solve this problem. They would have won this game already. You know I'm right.
I know.
It worked early in the expansion tournament. They just didn't pick it back up. But here we go. This is going to be a dead turret. They finally found their way in. Impaler wants in, but Sheep's going to go down first. But there's the re-engage. Glebe goes down. Support for support. And now what else is going to happen? There's Chris up in the front line. He is still tanky. Zonias does not catch Macnoon. Only some cursory damage to Neontatsu. Huhi's got to be careful. There's the Zonia's pop. Chris will go down. Ulti ends. That's the kill. Out goes Huhi. That is a 2-for-1, and they're inside the base. Fusion might have finally cracked the egg.
And Jez has no mana. He can't continue this fight. They're going to move straight down towards this, and they finally crack the base, and once it's cracked, it shatters.
There we go. Inhibitor number 2. It took all of 15 seconds. Once one turret fell down, the rest of the base was all it took. The inhibitor turret might have been MVP for the last 20 minutes, but it's died. Now Fusion. Miniwave is pretty close on top side. 30 seconds of 4v3 should be enough for 3 inhibs.
The big part of that fight is that they got the turret, they chipped away at it, and then they started the fight. It wasn't a dive. And I was saying it just a second ago that they're trying to skip it. They have,
nice try. Misses the ward hop, though. And Nintendo just gets out barely. They didn't need to do that.
No, Fusion, they did not.
They keep unlearning the lessons. It's so strange. Macnoon now also might be picked off for this one. Dragon's in 30. He'll be dead for that respawn timer. But maybe they baited him out a little bit too far. Impaler will trade his life. No jungler alive.
Intanso 12-1-8 as is his scoreline right now. He's sitting in this game with a 20 KDA.
Yeah. And 500 CS. I mean, the guy is putting on a good individual performance. He was just a bit oversafe for too long.
And that's the thing, is like you want to walk forward. What are they going to do to you when you have the Morgana shield? You have your flash. And they already got the turret down. And that's why this fight goes so well for them. Because before they were just trying to kill champions and then take the turret, instead of take the turret and then kill the champions.
And that worked quite nicely for them. So they finally got the siege down, and then it's just kind of chase in. I mean, Chris is very tanky. You can see, like, if there were a turret shooting the whole time, Deanna would be dead right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, getting rid of the turret was rather important.
It's just kind of the process that you should go through. Look at this, the dragon. They want to get this 5th dragon.
Again.
It's even more.
6th.
Yeah. 7?
I think it's 6th for them. Yeah.
It's a lot of dragons.
Wow. Again, Nintendo just does not miss smites. Well done by him. A nice 2-man stun for Glebe. This could be the game-winning fight. Sheep taking even more damage. Shockwave, though, catches Neontatsu. Has to flash the hook. He goes back in. He finds the support. Mash 1 hit from dead. Good. Zonias keeps him alive. Nintendo, can he find a Q? Oh, the fire back. They trade. Kill the mid laner.
Impaler.
And in comes Impaler. Maybe over-aggressive. Nice try on the binding. Nintendo comes in, takes a whole bunch of pain, though. And they are trading damage back and forth. Still a 2-for-1 for Fusion.
There's so many minions in their base right now in Fusion. They have that dragon, and they aren't going to be able to take advantage of it for a little while.
Really the turret.
Oh. So they're healthy. It's going to stay alive.
But this is like the most cursory of like walking to the base and the game moves. Grab the red buff, triple dragon, or sorry, penta dragon, I should say. No big deal there. Both one solo lane per team is missing. plus Sheep being dead. Even though Glebe is injured, this is still a good push for Fusion.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is they're able to take this. There's a lot of just items. Everybody is completed for the most part on Fusion. There are some that are a little behind. But then Coast, you see Chris far behind in his build by about 140 CS. No Frozen Heart available to him, so he doesn't even have max CDR on the Maokai, and he doesn't have that extra armor or attack speed slow to deal with the Intanto, who did go for the Zephyr now.
You just bait me with that.
I know.
You just love pointing that item out.
I like pointing out Zephyrs to you.
I can understand it on Corki just because you want CDR. Like, there is a theoretical reason why you'd want that item, but really Zephyr's a bad item, guys. Please don't buy it if you're not Aurelia. I'm begging you. It's just not good.
Tell me about that Zephyr again.
Well, there's the dragon. Great fight for Nintendo.
Almost gets it. It was at 1100 HP, which is out of smite range, and he gets really close to it. Intanto once again gets sucked in by that shockwave. And something I've been noticing about him in teamfights is how many shockwaves has he eaten this game? Jez is consistently getting the ball to the back line and hitting the Intanto with it, which is something that if this team were ahead, I feel like Coach would have an easier time closing these games out because Fusion is just struggling more than any other team I've ever seen in this situation.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you in this one. Fusion are one of the slowest teams to win with 10,000 gold. Coast very decisive, very good team fighting overall, but they're just getting behind throughout the early and mid game from some impeccable mid game team fights by Fusion. There's the final inhibitor going down.
And here's the thing too, is like gold kind of lies to you right now because another team could have more dragons and stuff like that. But the fact that they're up 20,000 gold and they're still kind of like barely punching through this brick wall, and it's been 54 minutes, they have bloody knuckles and they're just now getting through it, is really telling of how Fusion operates on this patch.
Well, and part of that is you can kind of see what's up with, part of the reason that the gold lead lies to you is that a lot of these builds are maxed out.
Yeah.
Like, Nian sold boots for Zephyr, which is like barely a DPS increase. So like, that's like 3,000 gold that didn't mean anything in the first place anyway. It's gonna be a nice hook, does not quite catch. There's 3 inhibs, and here comes the man drop.
Nice melee going.
Back, and the fight has begun. Wow, Macnoon to the back lines, pops Zonia's Sheep, nearly got who he turns around, doesn't quite get it though, good stun, Sheep still alive. Nice shockwave makes Macnoon revive, and kills now traded back and forth. They finally kill off Chris, Macnoon stays alive. It's only a 1-for-1, but and a pop GA. However, minions inside the base, this is still Fusion, potentially in the driver's seat, but looks like they want to run away. Glebe Glarbu, does he have flash? Looks like the answer is no, and a nice catch on a Nian, but the damage might be too much. There's no good health bars there. Macnoon chases down Mash. Nintendo, does he want to chase in this one? Looks like they'll just go for Impaler, and now inside the base, only one man alive. This will be game 1, finally going to Fusion.
Oh, but Jess's versus Nintendo, it's not over yet.
It's over for this one, though. You know what? The 1v1 is going to be what it is. The Nexus, though, will go down 55 minutes, 55 seconds. Some would say 25 minutes longer than it needed to be. With 104,000 gold, game 1 goes to Fusion.
14, 1, and 11 for Intanto in that game on Corki. They first picked that for him. The shot caller of the team had a good early game in the lane swap, had a good mid game, and ultimately he did misplay in positioning, but he never got really punished for it.
Yeah.
He ate some shockwaves, but then his team kind of ate the punishment for it. He was never like blown up. It was always like, I'm out of the fight, you guys, and then everybody else keeps fighting. And then they get mopped up.
And generally speaking, as long as Glebe was in position, his black shields were on. Now, there were like 1 or 2 that he missed, and probably about 3 that he just wasn't in range for, and that was, you could blame either player for that one, or just a miscommunication in general. Glebe was definitely a part of saving his life a lot throughout that game. Nian also was really good at saving Valkyrie for things like Flay. I only saw him get a Valkyrie stuffed once the entire game, which is impressive. It is very easy to lose Valkyries and just like, oh, that's a 26-second cooldown, gone, guess I'm dead. And that was something that Nian did a good job of playing around and doing a good job playing with. I liked his build as well, good sort of power curve there. He did eventually realize how he could take down turrets, saying with Black Shield, 4 auto attacks, back out. When I see Orianna, I'll leave. But it took them 25 minutes to solve that problem.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that he did get caught once or twice by hooks into shockwaves, and that may have scarred him and made it so like he doesn't want to walk forward and be that person, because they don't really have like a legitimate frontliner. It's pretty much Nintendo.
Right.
They rely on Zonias to kind of be their frontline pressure.
You're playing Siege Poke. You're playing Siege Poke. You deal with the fact that if they go on you, you equalize or disengage, and Morgana Zonias, and that was the game plan. They found out eventually. it's still a win. Of course, Fusion now only 2 games away for being the 10th and final team in the North American LCS for 2015 spring. Right now we've got Dash on the main stage with an interview.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with Will, Ivil, and Hogue, who's manager and analyst for Curse Academy. First off, congratulations on the qualification yesterday. How does it feel now to be moving up to the big leagues?
It feels good. The only way I can really describe it is like electric. It's just like this feeling that's just jolting through you, just like all that hard work, dedication from all the players and myself and our sports staff. Just finally hitting that goal just feels great.
Fantastic. You have some time, though, now to make adjustments and improve even more before you hit that LCS season. What are you looking to do as a team? Where are the areas of improvement that you're looking to hit first?
Yeah, so it's really just infrastructure at this point. We've been, scrimming against all these LCS teams, so it's not really like a performance issue. We're just going to go ahead and take some time to go find some really dedicated coaching staff, some more analysts, some maybe a sports psychologist, and other members of support staff to just really make the team come together and be LCS ready.
And this is not to diminish the improvement that you guys saw throughout the Challenger Series. Talk to me a little bit about the infrastructure here in the Challenger Series that allows amateur teams to improve the way they do.
So the Challenger Series is really interesting in the fact that it probably wouldn't exist without ESL. I mean, ESL runs all of the online tournaments, EPS, some King of the Hill things, and other things like that of that sort, and it wouldn't really be possible without them. Most of the Challenger teams come together and they go ahead and enter these online tournaments. They see if they're good enough, and then they improve that way, much like LoL Pro and Curse Academy did as well. And you'll see them streaming. And really huge shout out to all the guys over at ESL, all the admins, the volunteer base. Especially the head admin, Dreatro over at NESL, really big help over there. So it really wouldn't be possible without any of them.
Well, it's fun to watch the scene grow for sure, especially in just the short time that it has. Let's turn back to this series now, because I want to get your take as an analyst on the series at hand. Fusion now up 1-0, but it wasn't as easy as it looked like it was going to be. They had a really explosive start to that game, but Coast fought tooth and nail to give that game up. What are the changes that you would look to see both teams make going into the next game?
So I felt the draft for both teams wasn't really ideal. I feel like they can make some changes, and whoever really comes out ahead in the draft will probably win the match. It's more so like the teams are equal in rotations. The level of play between each player isn't really, there's no disparity there. So it's really going to come down to whoever out-mind games the opponent, figures out the draft, figures out the opponent. They'll probably come out ahead. I would like to see like Sheep. I think Sheep is probably the best player out of all 10 players in the match today. I mean, we've all seen Sheep go ahead and 1v5 and win his team the game before in past events. So I feel like if he really steps up his game, works with Mash, I think they can come out ahead in the next game. But I do see Fusion probably taking this game in a 3-0 or 3-1 fashion if they keep up what they did in this last game.
Definitely. Do you think, though, that there needs to be a little bit more confidence in closing out the game? We watched them with multiple GAs. They took 4 Barons. They had Dragon, the 5th Dragon buff multiple times. Seems like there's a little bit of hesitancy there, and this might be coming from the fact that their past series weren't as successful as they may have expected.
Definitely. If you watched in our set against Coast, we saw that when we were up about 10, 15K gold, they just went ahead and surrendered to go over to the next game. And I thought they were going to do something similar when Fusion came ahead with the 5th Dragon and the Baron, but then, they picked like 3 really good fights in the bottom tower. So I don't know. I think Fusion needs to go ahead and just take a breather. This was a long game. They need to go ahead and just revamp, go back into draft, focus on draft, and then just treat this as a brand new game and try to come out ahead of this one.
Now, Coast, we definitely would look for them to have a better early game because they performed pretty well in the late there. Again, you did mention the draft phase. Is that where it comes from solely? Because they had, Pantheon, some early game pressure. Oriana maybe not so much, but Thresh definitely has a lot of lane pressure and things like that. So what kind of champions are you looking at then on Coast side to kind of get things going earlier in the game?
So I'm really surprised that we're not seeing more like aggressive junglers from Impaler. I mean, sure, he's playing the Pantheon, but I just don't feel like he's playing it as aggressive as we usually see Impaler play. I mean, I watched all of Impaler's games when he was on the EU team, and then we scrimmed them a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I thought he was probably the best jungler on the scene. Like, I thought that was a great pickup for Coast, but this entire tournament, he's just not playing great, and the Nunu pickup against us was really uncharacteristic of him, and I just don't feel like he's playing as great as he should be, as well as Mash. Mash was someone who was probably an LCS caliber AD carry, which had that quote unquote tilting problem. I felt like he was going to come out and just do extremely well this tournament, and he's kind of doing the opposite. So I really want him. I want to see some great matches. I want to see Mash and Sheep really dominate this next game, or try to dominate the next game. And I would like to see Mash pick more characteristic AD carries. I know he likes to go back to his Twitch. I mean, he has Vayne in his back pocket. I would love to see either of those come out.
All right, yeah. When speaking to Impaler yesterday, he had mentioned that he picked Lee Sin mainly to take away from Shorter Race. So I'd be interested to see if he does it here against Nintendo. I want to thank you for your time. We're going to toss it into the next game. So I got to send it up to Freak and Zyrene to get us into Champ Select.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We are going to come in with Game 2 in this series in a little bit. It is a best of 5. It will require 2 more wins for Fusion or 3 more wins for Team Coast. And we're going to see which is going to be the 10th team to join the LCS.